was pretty shocked to see how expensive everything was. Is organic cotton better for the environment overall versus polyester? No brand can actually be perfectly sustainable. How do I participate in this sustainable fashion movement when I can't afford any of these clothes? And then of course we have greenwashing, where a brand is only pretending to be sustainable. From the outside it looks like, wow, they have a really low footprint, when in reality they're also still polluting in the same exact way as before. But I do have a better way to shop that I want to share with you guys, and I'm sure it's something that you have heard before. Hey guys, today I wanted to share some of my recent thoughts and musings that I've had on sustainable and ethical style and fashion, because I've had a really long journey of buying ethical and sustainable fashion, and originally I had much different thoughts and ideas about what it was than what I do now. I know that a lot of you guys have mixed feelings about brands that call themselves ethical, sustainable, about fast fashion, and yeah, let's chat about this. So I did want to share a little bit of a backstory of how I got into sustainable fashion, and it all started when my sister recommended for me to read the blog Unfancy. She talked a lot about capsule wardrobes, and she introduced me to a couple of sustainable brands, and I was really excited about this whole concept of like building yourself a good quality wardrobe that was minimal and like consuming less and being like a more sustainable shopper. That was all very interesting to me because I already was really into like thrifting, finding things on a bargain, reusing things. So this was like very much in tune with my life already. And at that point in my life, I was only really shopping at places like H&M, Target, Forever 21. Those were like my go-to shopping places, and I didn't know anything about fast fashion or the harmful effects of all these stores. So I was really inspired to change my wardrobe and replaced all my like worn out things that were falling apart from fast fashion stores into some really good quality items that could last, and that I could know that I was like supporting a good movement that was treating its workers fairly. I went on to all these online stores to check them out, and I was pretty shocked to see how expensive everything was. And of course there's a good reason for this, because a lot of these brands are trying to make sure that the material is sourced ethically, that it's not made with a bunch of harmful chemicals, that it's not harming like the people that live around the factory that's making the material. Then they're trying to make sure that the workers are getting paid a fair wage depending on where they live. There's a lot of good reasons why these clothes are expensive, but I could not allow myself to spend that much money on clothes because, again, I'm a thrifty bargain shopper. I like to live on a budget, so buying a t-shirt for $50, that was crazy to me. I find myself, at odds with how do I participate in this sustainable fashion movement when I can't afford any of these clothes. So am I supposed to just buy fast fashion? Am I supposed to go into debt and buy all this expensive clothes on a credit card? What is a person to do? And I'm sure you guys heard this story before, but over the years I found like a really great middle ground for myself where I would buy a lot of things secondhand, because then those resources were already spent and I could give those clothes a second life instead of having them go to the landfill. So I was really happy with that. And then also I would save a little bit of money sometimes and buy myself something from a sustainable brand, and that felt good that I was able to participate in that. And then I would also still buy items from regular fast fashion stores, but I would try to make sure that they were natural fibers and that they looked like they were made well, nothing's like fraying or falling apart already at the store. So yeah, that was a compromise that felt really good to me, and that's how I have been shopping the last 5 years. And it's a very relaxed approach to sustainable fashion. But what I want to talk about today is sustainable fashion really sustainable? Is it really something that we all need to participate in, or is there a different way to shop that is still good for the environment and for everybody else? So the first problem with sustainable fashion is that no brand can actually be perfectly sustainable, because there's way too many angles of sustainability. So there's the material, is it organic? Is it made in a way that is not harmful to the people around the factory? Are the workers being paid a fair wage? Is the product being shipped in an ethical way with a low carbon footprint? Brands usually pick a couple of those to focus on, but Of course, no brand is going to be perfect in every aspect. And for me personally as a consumer, if I see that a brand is trying to do something, that's enough for me to see that they are making an effort, and that makes me want to shop from them. But I know for some shoppers that is important, and if a brand is missing one of these, then they'll say that's not sustainable, actually that's not an ethical brand, and that kind of bothers me a little bit because, again, I don't think any brand is going to be perfect. And then of course we have greenwashing, where a brand is only pretending to be sustainable because most of their clothes are made in a pretty horrific fast fashion way, but maybe they have one line that they're like trying to be more sustainable, and then they're like, look, now we're a sustainable brand. And a lot of people can fall for that because they're not really diving in and looking deeper into how everything else is made. There's also been a lot of research done lately into things like, is carbon offsetting doing anything, or is it actually a scam just to kind of greenwash a company into making everyone think that they're being sustainable? For example, you know, a company can keep polluting however they want, and then they say, we're gonna carbon offset this by planting a forest. From the outside it looks like, wow, they're doing really good, they have a really low footprint, when in reality they're also still polluting in the same exact way as before. I've also read a couple articles talking about, is organic cotton better for the environment overall versus polyester? And there's really not a clear answer for this either, because on the one hand, cotton is better because it's a natural fiber, it feels better on the skin, it's gonna decompose faster. But in reality, if you look at like the whole of how it's created, cotton actually uses a lot more water than a lot of other fibers, and when you look at like the whole scheme of things, it really just comes out almost the same in the end. And it can be a little bit discouraging to kind of look at all of this, but I do have a better way to shop that I want to share with you guys, and I'm sure it's something that you have heard before. And I'm calling this solution, let's do it the old school way. And what I'm talking about here is reduce, reuse, and recycle. So I've been embracing the mindset lately that it doesn't actually matter where you buy your clothes, as long as you look for good quality items that you are gonna wear for a long time, and you're gonna take care of them and make them last. So for reduce, that means just buy less stuff. We actually need so much less items than what we think. And the average person doesn't even wear like 50% of their closet. So if we all just start shopping less, that will already make such a great impact. Try to keep track of what you're buying. Maybe start a notebook where you write it down just so that you are aware of what's going on. And if you have kind of a shopping addiction, then try to start some other hobbies in your life that will bring you like the same rush of adrenaline, dopamine, that makes you feel really good, that maybe shopping does for you. Some hobbies I would recommend are reading, gardening, sewing. You know what you're interested in, so yeah, just find something else to take up your time, and that will make a big difference. Then for the reusing part, I think that just means wearing our clothes over and over again, re-wearing them, restyling them, not feeling self-conscious that we're wearing the same thing that we wore last week. It really honestly doesn't matter. No one is paying attention to us as much as we think that they are. So just wear your favorite clothes and enjoy them. And then if you find that you're starting to get tired of them and you want to move on, that's where we move on to the recycle aspect of this, where we can resell our clothes or donate them to somebody that will actually wear them. Because if we just blindly dump all our stuff at a Goodwill, it actually doesn't make it to the places that we think it does. A lot of the times it actually goes just to landfills, because those third world countries, they are overflowing with all of these clothes that nobody actually wants anymore. Yeah, you can try to resell your stuff on places like Poshmark or ThreadUp or any local consignment stores, or you can try to just give them to friends or family that you think will wear them, and donating to Goodwill really should be like a last resort. So in closing, we can't actually save the planet with our shopping habits, even though companies try to make us feel that way by saying, buy from us, we're sustainable, we're better, you're gonna feel better about shopping. But I also think we can't just disregard everything that we do know and blindly just keep buying as much as we want for as cheap as possible without really thinking about the people that it's harming. So I do think there is something that we can do. We can do our part just by buying less, buying good quality, enjoying and wearing our clothes, and trying to pass them on when the time is right. And we can teach those after us to do the same thing, because again, I think that our parents had it right, our grandparents, when they were reusing their Ziploc bags and rewashing them and mending their clothes. They were on the right track, and then we all forgot about that because big companies are always going to try to distract us and trick us just to make a profit, but let's not let them win. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk.